He opened his mouth to answer her, but his voice was drowned out by the babble of voices as folk in the crowd began to argue among themselves. Non shook her head. There were some people who lived in the past. They readily took useless pills made up by the apothecaries who stood behind polished counters in proper shops, but wouldn't touch the natural remedies put into the ground by the good Lord himself. The appearance of Non's father, a man big in character, if not in stature, silenced the crowd. Doris bowed her head. She had a superstitious respect for the church in general, and the Reverend Jenkins in particular. "I see some of you are partaking of my daughter's God-given medicines." He smiled benignly at the people surrounding him. "They are all recommended by Mr. Culpepper himself, who claims that herbs are the natural way to preserve life. Herbs and roots and plants are as good for us as the corn we cut for bread. Wouldn't you agree, Di? You being a baker?" "I would, Reverend." Di clutched his hat to his thin chest. "Just saying so I was, sir." Good man, good man." The Reverend turned to Non. "Well, daughter, I think it's going to rain. You'd better start to pack up your stall. Come along, my dear. I'll help you load everything onto the pony and trap." Non glanced up. Her father was right. Clouds were moving swiftly across the sky, beginning to obscure the sun. She packed away her remedies quickly, storing the bottles in the correctly labelled compartments in the large box made for her by Morgan Lewis. Non smiled. Morgan was a smithy, but he'd turned his hand to woodcraft for her sake, because Morgan was in love with her. She paused for a moment, her hand hovering over the last few bottles of medicine. Morgan was a handsome enough man, but she was not ready to settle down with anyone just yet. She was young. She had a lot of living and a great deal of learning to do before she was ready for marriage. "Come along, child," her father's voice cut into her thoughts. "We'll be soaked if you don't hurry." She finished her packing and stacked her wares neatly in the body of the cart. "Is that quick enough for you, Father?" She smiled at him, loving him so much that it almost hurt. She climbed into the seat beside him and planted a kiss on his cheek. "You're all right as fathers go. Do you know that, Reverend Jenkins?" "Now then, none of your nonsense. I've only done what any other father on God's earth would have done, and that's to bring my only child up in the knowledge of right and wrong." He might be dismissive of her words, but her father was a man deserving of praise. After her mother died in childbirth, her father had taken care of her. The only times he'd left her with a nurse were when he was about his parish duties or on Sundays when he was preaching his sermons. Sermons, she later came to learn, that were delivered with a wit and humour that endeared him to his congregation. As her father negotiated the busy road leading away from the market, an elegant coach pulled alongside. Glancing up, Non saw that the other driver was Caradoc Jones, as handsome and debonair as always. Sitting beside him was his sister Georgina, looking through Non as though she didn't exist. But Caradoc smiled at her and lifted his hat, and Non felt herself flushing. "Good evening, Reverend, and evening to you too, Miss Jenkins." Caradoc's voice was deep and resonant, and his eyes, meeting hers, were full of laughter. She looked away quickly, fanning her face with her hand, as if it was the heat of the day causing her to blush, and not the handsome devil-may-care son of the wealthy George Jones, bank owner and cattle drover. "Evening to you, Caradoc," the Reverend said. "How's that old reprobate of a father of yours?" "He's well, and as strong as the beasts he used to drive to market." Caradoc spoke with the confidence of the privileged. He didn't